Hey good people, and welcome back to the channel. In a few moments, I'll be sharing my thoughts and feelings on episode 15 of Married at First Sight San Diego. That's right folks, 2 more episodes and a few reunion episodes before we can finally wipe our hands clean of this season. But over the course of this review, I'll be sharing my episode breakdown, followed by my commentary for each couple, and I'll end the review with an overall episode rating. So without any further delay, let's jump right in. Episode 15 picks up where episode 14 left off. We get to see the couples discussing their issues. We get an update on Justin's dog Maya. We get to see Lindy and Miguel play a game of Dungeons and Dragons, and so on and so forth. So if you haven't seen this episode yet, and I have to give a recommendation, I would wholeheartedly recommend that you treat this episode like a bill collector and avoid it. Now, there were some positive things that were shown throughout the episode, but most of the issues that the couples discussed during the episode were recycled, and there's really no sense in seeing them play out yet again. But let's move on to the couples. First, there's Lindy and Miguel. As stated earlier, their first scenes carry over from the ending of last episode, where we see Lindy and Miguel pleading their cases to their dodgeball team members as to why they feel their feelings are justified. Now, I'm not Team Miguel nor am I Team Lindy. I try my best to call things fair and square. I do think that Miguel was wrong for how he expressed his feelings with Lindy, but I also viewed Lindy's entire body of work on the show, and I saw her as being disrespectful to other people's feelings, being overly emotional, and being self-centered to some degree. And throughout this episode, Lindy is essentially expecting Miguel to accept her as she is, whereas Miguel is just simply looking for somebody that can complement his personality, organically of course. Even later in the episode, Lindy brings up the issue that she has in changing her last name, which I thought was already settled. And I think that Lindy and Miguel are both right in what they want in their respective partners. But to some extent, I get where Miguel is coming from. Because after you reach a certain age, you don't have time to deal with certain personalities, and it seems like Lindy's personality can be a bit much for someone to handle. And it seems like in order for them to make it long-term in their marriage, there's going to have to be some sacrifice on both ends. But at this time, I don't see Miguel and Lindy being willing to sacrifice to give the other person a lot of what they want. But who knows? Things might change for them down the line. Next up is Stacia and Nate. We first see them traveling to Stacia's house, and Stacia is giving Nate the grand tour. During this time, she's coming off as the annoying neat freak that we saw earlier in the season. And in the back of my mind, I was wondering how Stacia planned to have all those kids that she wants and be a neat freak on top of that. Little kids are naturally messy, and I think Stacia is in for a rude awakening if she thinks that she can train a toddler how to be clean to her standards. But a little later in the episode, Nate and Stacia go to a hardware store, and Nate is really excited on the possible designs for the new house. But Stacia quickly reminds Nate that it is her house, and she will ultimately call the shots. And sadly, this is what Nate signed up for when agreeing to marry Stacia. Yes, it is her house and she paid for it, but I'm pretty sure that she'll expect Nate to either help with the mortgage or cover the utilities and maintenance. I think that in Nate's mind, he doesn't want to be in a marriage with someone who views him as a glorified roommate. And I personally know a lot of guys who would avoid somebody like Stacia simply because they want to feel valued by the woman they're with. Sadly, there is a perception that it's hard for a woman that has an independent mindset to then show a man how she values him. I think that Nate and Stacia are on the right track for their marriage. I just think that Stacia needs to give Nate a little more leeway. Next up is Alexis and Justin. And first off, I gotta offer Justin my deepest sympathies. Alexis is easily one of the worst wives on Married at First Sight history, and when I revamp my top 10 list again, she will definitely rank somewhere on it. One of their first scenes for this episode is of them heading back from the retreat. They are talking about their experience with sex, and Justin is vowing to go to the gym to work on his stamina. Alexis then asks Justin if the gym has machines that can help him with his stroke. I know that Justin is a nice guy, and he's not trying to create conflict with his wife, but if I were him, and she said that to me, I would have pulled the car over right then and there, and me and Alexis would have had a come to Jesus moment. Because throughout the entire season, Alexis has been blatantly disrespectful, as well as passive aggressive when talking to Justin. And in the few moments where Justin tried to speak up for himself, he failed to put his foot down and put some bass in his voice. But in this episode, we learn that Justin has to pick up Maya from doggy lockup because she bit another dog, and Justin decides to give Maya away to his best friend. I know that this decision wasn't easy for Justin, but given Alexis's track record, I don't think that he should have made the decision for her. Now granted, having Maya around is a liability, especially if she's just gonna bite other dogs the moment one barks at her the wrong way. But Alexis didn't really appear to be appreciative of the sacrifice that Justin made, and Justin claims that he gave his dog away with the understanding that Alexis would be all in for decision day, but that plan backfired. Unfortunately, it seems like Alexis is more comfortable telling the other ladies, as well as production, how she feels versus directly telling Justin about it. If I were Justin, I would have simply asked for a divorce on this episode. But lastly, we have Krysten and Mitch. Mitch was at a work conference for most of the episode, but when he comes back, he makes up for lost time by saying some of the dumbest things. First, he admits to not wearing his wedding ring at the conference. He then admits that there were a lot of beautiful women there, and he was one of the few men there. And lastly, he admits that he had been drinking quite a bit at the function. Couple all of that with the fact that Krysten had been cutting Mitch off when it come to getting laid. Krysten suspects that Mitch may have cheated, but truth be told, I seriously doubt Mitch cheated. And the primary reason I have for feeling this way is because Mitch has a unique ability to talk his way out of giving women that good old pickle tickle. He can't help himself. It's almost as if he has a superpower. And he likely talked himself out of some guaranteed trim at the event on more than one occasion. But overall, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'll give this episode a 3. This episode was a waste of time, but it wasn't one of the worst for the season. And from the looks of things, episode 16 won't be airing next week. Instead, we'll be getting one of those episodes where the past cast members weigh in on the couples for this season and they make their predictions. And I don't feel like reviewing that because I already know the spoilers for the season. So next week, I'll probably be posting some kind of opinion piece for the cast members. But this marks the end of my review. If you have any questions or comments related to the review or the episode, feel free to leave them below in the comment section and I'll respond to everybody. Until next time, stay tuned and stay safe. Peace.